everybody, it's Sarah and we're in a different spot because thanks to Josie I now have a ring light and now I am not like forced to look towards my windows anymore, or if I don't look towards my windows have a completely overexposed like spot right here, which is really nice because now I can actually film in my nice reading chair, which I absolutely love. Thank you very much. And so yeah, what is up today? What do I have planned for today? Today I want to share with you my old/antique book collection. Because thing is, I do not just see myself as a person who loves reading, I also see myself as a person who loves books. And I know for a lot of people those two things are synonymous. However, I do not really see them as synonymous. The way I see it is that you can love reading, but be completely happy to have your entire library in form of an e-reader, for example, or just via audiobooks and so on, to not ever feel the need to own a book physically. And that is completely fine and completely valid. However, that is not me. I see myself as a book lover and as a book collector on top of being a person who loves to read. And book collecting, I know, is kind of a sensitive topic on BookTube, especially with consumerism and so on. And I personally, I sometimes enjoy getting special editions of books, especially of classics. However, the way I collect books, the way I unnecessarily collect books, is by collecting old books and antique books. And I actually don't even have proper space for a lot of my antique books. I'm also lucky enough that a lot of the antique books that I got, I didn't have to buy. But yeah, so I wanted to share my collection of those books with you today. And first of all, let me just share very quickly my collection that I still have at my mom's place, because I just mentioned I do not have enough space here. I'll insert the little clips that I filmed of my shelves at my mom's place in my room. I have kind of 4 different collections at my mom's. The first one is this beautiful encyclopedia that has especially beautiful spines, and I absolutely love them. I think there's 18 books in that collection in total. Some of them are already quite beat up, sadly, but overall they still look absolutely amazing on my shelves. Then I have 2 volumes of Shakespeare's works. Again, beautiful spines. I do not know from when any of the books that I have at my mom's are though. So yeah, those 2 Shakespeare books. You'll see another Shakespeare collection later on as well. Then I have a collection of Goethe works. I think there are 12 books in total. Also, again, absolutely beautiful spines. Also, these have absolutely beautiful like marbled edges, something that a lot of old books have a lot of times, and I absolutely love it when they have that. And then the final collection I have at my mom's is a collection, I think, of 5 or 6 Grillparzer works. Grillparzer was an Austrian / I think maybe even Viennese playwright around the turn of the 19th and 20th century in Austria, Vienna, obviously, if I remember that correctly. So now that we have that part out of the way, let me very quickly show you how my old books look on my shelves right here in my flat, because I then want to show them to you like one by one a little bit more closely, because I think that's especially worth it with old books. So as I said, before we get into a bit more detail on each single book, I wanted to show you just in general my layout of my antique books, of my old books on my bookshelves. Of course, these are my humongous shelves that have gone through quite some change in the past year since I did my last bookshelf tour, but in a few months I'll probably have an updated one. And on this shelf right in front of you, which kind of has this vitrine-like thing going on because of the doors, I have most of my antique books stored together with my manga, because I don't know, I like that contrapoint between the old books and the colorful manga, I guess. And here you can see them again with the doors open, obviously, so the reflection isn't in the way, and also there on the very bottom I have a few more old books together with my witch comics. But yeah, those are almost all of my books. I have some more in another space, which I'll show you now. So here's the last one together with my globe, and it's on my kind of fancy books, favorite series books, as well as my BTS shelf right by my bed. And you can see the mess that is my wardrobe over there. But yeah, so now let's get into all the specific single books and let me show them to you. So now that you saw how they look on my shelves, let me show them to you one by one. Mostly the books that I have are or were published, were brought out between 1840 and like the 1960s, I guess. A lot of the books I do not know when exactly they were published, I just know kind of the time frame. And now let's get into it. The first ones are the ones that you saw near my witch collection, and the first one I want to share with you is this book that's wrapped in packing paper. I think I could actually take the paper off. It actually looks like it might be quite a nice like burgundy color underneath, but I'm kind of scared. This book is from 1929. It has these beautifully illustrated inside pages to it, and this is kind of a medicine book type thing. There's also really nice, if sometimes a little bit creepy, illustrations inside, and as you can see, I don't know if that's just something that like German written books have, but it's written in this like old tiny script. I can't remember anymore what it is called. I don't know if you can actually see it. Can you see it? I think so. Next, I have 2 volumes of Länder- und Völkerkunde by Dr. Paul Lehmann. I believe these 2 were part of a bigger encyclopedia style collection. And as you can see, they are very beautiful. Länder- und Völkerkunde, by the way, basically means that these are ethnology books. So of course I had to have them because I do study cultural and social anthropology, of which ethnology kind of is a part. Here you can see the spines, and here again you can see what I meant with these marbled edges on a lot of old books. Now, I do not know from when exactly they are, although I do believe that these as well were from the first half of the 20th century, since again they do have the kind of old tiny script inside, and since they're ethnological works, they're supposedly describing all the peoples of the world and their cultures. Although from when it was written, I think it's pretty safe to say that some of it can be quite racist, but I don't know, I haven't read into them yet. These, by the way, I got myself, or my mom got them for me as a present, but in any case I chose them myself in an antiquity shop, which is one way I got a lot of my books. I especially had like this antiquity shop in Munich that sadly has closed down, although it hasn't closed down, but it changed owner. But I'll talk about that one a little bit later with some other books. So that's where a lot of my books come from. But then a lot of other books, same as the one I'm going to talk about next, and also the first one I talked about, actually come from friends of my mom's, because word has gotten around that I collect old books. So whenever someone whom my mom knows more closely and who also knows me has like a relative, an elderly relative who either moves into a retirement home or who passes away and they have like this book collection that they need to get rid of, my mom is asked whether or not I would be interested, and I'm always like, yeah, of course I would be interested. So actually, for the most part, I did not have to pay a cent for all these amazing books that I now have in my collection, which is just kind of really neat. Next, I have another book from the 1920s, although I do not know the exact year, and this is Rousseau. I do not know the exact work, but it's a Rousseau. That's all I know. Again, really old tiny script. Again, some illustrations inside, and I do not know if you can see it. Oh, here you can see it. It's like gold embossed all around the sides. Again, a really nice spine, and the upside, like the bottom, not the bottom, the top of the pages is red, although the rest isn't red for some reason. So yeah, this is the fourth book that I wanted to show to you. This next one is from 1954, and this is a collection of novellas by C.F. Meyer, whom I do not know who that is. I could technically read that one because it's not written in the old-timey script, but I haven't yet. Maybe I should get around to that. And this is quite standard for around that time. You have a nice illustrated cover, and then you have a nice marbled back without the summaries that we now already know on the backs of books, and then it's like cloth bound around the spine. This next one, I'm not sure if the publication is from 1892 or if that was just like the first time this version, this translation of this book was published, but in any case it's at least early 20th century, and that is this version of Homer's Iliad. And again, it's just a really pretty book, and you have the marbled edges. I don't know if you can see it, it's less obvious here. You have the old-timey script, and in this one there aren't any. Wait, what? Well, funny what happens when you for the first time really open one, but there's a receipt inside of here, which I haven't seen yet. So this book was sold in 1919, so yeah, that's, KK Hof und Verlags Universität. Very interesting. It was sold at the university library. So yeah, I could probably also tell who sold it or who bought it, but I can't read that. So yeah, that's really interesting. Anyway, so 1919, we now know when this was published, not published, but when it was sold, and it's also has like a little stringy thingy, no illustrations this time, but yeah, I just really love that. And you're gonna see another edition of the Iliad a bit later on in this video. Something I absolutely love about old books is that a lot of times the people actually still wrote inside of these books. So for example, this book was gifted to someone for Christmas 1935. And it says inside, "From my beloved father," and it's Friedman Bach. It's a novel. So yeah, it's just really nice. Old books have so much history, and I absolutely love that. Again, it's a novel. You have the old-timey script. It's pretty simple compared to a lot of the other ones I showed you so far. You have the orange spine that's cloth bound, and aside from that, the bareback, and so on. So the next 15 or so books we can go through quite quickly. I do not exactly know from when they are. They look quite new, so my guess would be the 80s or something. And this again, I had a friend who knows I collect old books, and he had this collection that he didn't know where to put them, and so he asked me whether or not I wanted them. And they're a collection of like classic philosophers' works, plays, and so on, so from Rome and ancient Greece. First I have Sallust, I've never heard of him, which is just like writings by him. Plutarch, I don't know how to say those names in English, I'm sorry. Again, just like writings by him. Aristoteles, Introduction into Philosophy, and like these all have just very simple, can you see it? Very simple designs on them and all different colors, and they just look really neat as a collection on my shelf. Virgil, the Aeneid, I think that's what you call it in English. Again, just nice design, nice blue color. Aeschylus, I don't know. Tragedies and Fragments. Sophocles, Tragedies, right here. Dialogues by Plato. Then just Greek lyricists and like Greek, I guess, poems. Oh, I have Sappho in here. I might have to look into this one. I have not read any of them, by the way. I do not own these books to read them, I just own them to look pretty on my shelves. Plinius' Letters, Sueton, Lives of the Caesars, Talks by Cicero. Then I have writings by Marc Aurel, Roman satires. Then I of course have a copy of the Odyssey by Homer right here, and Horace something, I don't know. This is the last one of this collection. And again, these just look really neat together on the shelf. So aside from the first one I'm going to show you right now, the next few books are all books that I got myself. This first one, however, is from 1856 and it's called Der Abendstern. And I think it's just one of these things where in the 19th century you just had either chapters of novels or novellas published together in like newspaper type things that were then regularly published, and I think this is one of those publications because there's like multiple times where you have a novella or just a novel that's just by different people. But yeah, that's what this is. The paper actually doesn't look the best anymore, but again, it's almost 200 years old, so yeah. I just really love having these pieces of history in my collection. This next book I got in an antiquity store in Munich that I used to love. There was this antique bookstore and the owner didn't seem to give two fucks actually. And he just had the books like in towers everywhere. They weren't in shelves. I mean, some of them were in shelves, but there were also just book towers everywhere. And you can just look around for ages and find absolute treasures there, and he gave them to you for really, really cheap. For example, this one I got for 10 euros, which partly is because it's not in very good condition anymore. Like the spine is already cracked, which is why usually I just have a hair tie around it so it doesn't fall off. And this is, I don't know if I said it already, but it's a version of The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, which is actually one of my favorite classics. The pages are red, or are still mostly red. There are also some illustrations in here, if I can find one again. There was one. There's some illustrations in here. I do not know exactly from when it is, although I suppose it would be as well either the end of the 19th or the beginning of the 20th century sometime. And then also the spine is just really pretty. I still need to get it to someone who can like fix it again, but yeah, something I need to do. I'm gonna do it at some point. This next one is a German translation of a Dickens from 1930 and it's leather bound, absolutely beautiful. You can see the front is like gold embossed. I do not know the translation or which exact novel by Dickens this one is. In German it's Der Raritätenladen, but also the spine again is really beautiful. I do not know if you can properly see it, how amazing this spine is. And again, you have the old-timey script. This one I think does not have... Oh, it does have illustrations as well. Let's look at one of them. Here you have an illustration and it's just really nice. Then I have some more Dickens to share with you now. This is Barnabas Rudge in 2 volumes. And these are one of my absolute prizes of my collection. Look at how gorgeous they are. I do not know exactly from when they are, once again, but once again, my guess would be sometime at the beginning of the 20th century or the end of the 19th century. Although my guess is that how well they are preserved, that it's more the beginning of the 20th century. These ones as well I got at that antiquity store in Munich. And I have a quite fun story for this one actually, because I looked at them and there was no price written in them and there was no price like indicated, and so I asked the owner of the store how much they are. And he looked at them and he was like, well, they're quite beautiful. They're like bibliophile editions, and so a bit more expensive, so 20 euros. And I was like, 20 euros? That's a deal. So I wanted to give him 20 euros for each of the books, but no, it was 20 euros for both of the books. And like, it's the best deal I ever made for a book. Look at these. They are so beautiful. Next, I have another prized possession, and that is this collection of 6 books, which is Shakespeare's plays. These are the oldest books I own, I'm pretty sure. They are from 1845. I mean, some of them are falling apart a little bit, as you can see right here, so I do have to get them looked after as well. But they're quite simple, but I just love the way they look. They do have, once again, nice embossed leather spines, and then the front and the back cover are just, again, very simple. And yeah, but I just love the way they look. I got these at the antiquity store in Munich as well. Again, there was a lot of bullshit there, but every now and again you just really like kind of fell over some treasures there. This one I got for really cheap as well. I mean, this collection I got for really cheap as well. So I don't remember how much it was exactly, but I remember at the time being like, wow, yeah, I definitely want that. And so my mom got them for me for Christmas that year. So let's continue on. I actually also have a Bible. I talked about it before. I'm not religious personally, but well, if you get presented a couple of like old book selections by a lot of old people, sooner or later there's gonna be a Bible among them, and so I also have one. I do not know, once again, from when this one is. 1926. That's when it's from. So yeah, that's the Bible that I have in case there's ever a demon haunting my home, I guess. Next I have Schlosser's Weltalmanach. It's actually 8 books, but they're really big, they're really chunky, they're really heavy, and I'm too lazy to get all of them off of my shelves. These are kind of a collection of a like history encyclopedia. I once again do not know from when exactly they are, but since the history in them is until about 1850, I would once again guess that they were published around the time of the end of the 19th, beginning of the 20th century, probably between the world wars at the latest, although my guess would be that the World War would already be part of it if it had been published afterwards. Then next I have these 3 books, which are Plato. These 2 are his work The State, I think it would be called in English, and this is what's it called? I think the Apologia, like the apology of Socrates, is this one. These are also really pretty again. You can't properly see it probably, but they're embossed. They have nice spine with golden scripts, and then the back is embossed as well. I also have some Nietzsche right here, which is from when? 1902. And this is Also sprach Zarathustra. I don't know what it is in English. And that is one of his morality works. And again, they're pretty simple, although the backs are embossed and the edges are bright red, which is just a nice contrast with the olive green. Next is another history book from 1917. This one's on the Renaissance, and again, beautiful spine, very interesting covers, red edges on the pages, and then written, funnily enough, maybe it's not from 1918, but it's just like was first published in 1918, because the writing is normal, which usually at that time I do not know from books. But yeah, I sadly only collect these. I'm not exactly like a professional in judging from when a book is. And then I have these two last chunky books before we get onto my other shelf. And these have black edges, obviously. They're like art history, also Renaissance art history. And again, they're really, really pretty on my shelves. The fronts are quite simple. They just have like this, I don't know what this cross is called. Constantine cross? I think that might be it. And then inside, since this is an art book, you obviously have photographs of the different artworks and so on. Architecture, artworks, just really neat and pretty books. Now let's go through the last 5 books, and I just noticed something. I got this from Josie for my birthday, and it seems to belong to the same collection as my Plato books because they look exactly the same. But this is Ovid, so it's not Plato, it's a bit different. And yeah, they're really pretty inside and outside. I don't know once again when they're from, but I just once again think they're neat, and I'm going to put them, or this one I guess, with the other ones. Then I have another copy of the Iliad by Homer from I don't know when. Once again, there's no date when it's from, but this is actually Reklam, and Reklam, if you have been in Austria and probably in Germany as well, and you had anything in English or German, you probably know Reklam because they are the versions of the books. They're like this little yellow if it's like German classics, and I think orange if it was English classics. These little yellow books, exactly this size of classics, and it's just the memories. You always got those for classics. Like if your school gave you the classics, those were the versions you got. Reklam, that's it. They were bright yellow, nothing on them except the title. I might put like show you a little bit how it looks here. Then I have the Decamerone by Boccaccio in 3 volumes. This is another one of my prized possessions. They're again leather bound, just like really smooth books. The spines are beautifully gold embossed. The fronts and backs are quite simple, but they just look really nice. And once again, I do not know when they are from, but I mean, it's not old-timey script. So my guess would be like 1950s, something like that, because you do not get those like nice, smooth, leather-bound books anymore. You just don't. Then I have a collection of Grimm's fairy tales from Inselbücherei. And Inselbücherei kind of is something similar to Reklam. You kind of just know it. They have these really distinct editions. They're kind of like Penguin Classics. You know a Penguin Classic edition when you see it. And same is the case with Inselbücherei. These are from 1949, so just after the Second World War. And they are one of the first like old-timey books from an antiquity store that I got myself, like me for myself. Then I have another birthday present that I got from my mom last year, and that is Faust's Leben, Taten und Höllenfahrt by Friedrich Klinger. Again, just a really nice book, a really nice spine. Old books have the best spines. I do not make the rules. And this is from 1911. So yeah, it's also actually, I think, Inselbücherei. Yeah, this is Inselbücherei as well. So like Inselbücherei has a lot of different editions, but these ones are the ones everyone knows. And they're still getting published, like these types of editions. And then the last book I have is my chunkiest book. And that is this one right here, which is just a biography of Jeanne d'Arc, which was written, I don't know when. So it says 1876, but I think that was just the time when it was first published, not when this specific book was published. But again, I mean, it's kind of glaring because there is like a safety, thing on it. but it's just a beautiful, beautiful, huge old book with gilded edges, and then inside obviously there are some illustrations again. And this one my mom got for me when she was in France at one point, and she was like at this fair or like flea market, and she saw this. And Jeanne d'Arc, fun fact, is my favorite historical figure. She has been my favorite historical figure since I was 10. I, as a little girl, just found her really inspiring, and like now I'm just nostalgic about her. And so she knew she had to get this for me, and it's one of my most prized possessions because it looks so pretty and it's so huge, and it's just absolutely love it. Can't read it though because it's in French, and I do speak some French but not enough to read this book. And that was it for this video. Now I'm going to go ahead and try and edit this down to like a good length. And yeah, tell me in the comments down below if you love old books as much as I do, if you maybe even collect them as well. All the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. All my links to my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, in which we read one adult high fantasy book written by a woman per month, will also be linked down below. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!